Hello and welcome back to the channel. On today's tutorial, I'm going to be sharing with you how to draft a Victorian corset with an asymmetric waistline. So if it's your first time viewing my channel, please hit on the subscribe button. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. So let's dive right into today's video. So I have marked out all my vertical measurements, which includes my shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, and my top shoulder to waist and top length. So for this pattern, we are not going to be making use of a bust start. So we are actually going to make this pattern beginner friendly and very easy to understand. So in our previous pattern, we made use of the bust start. So the difference between my front and back is 1.5 inches. So now if you're making use of a bust start, you will notice that your front waistline is different from your back waistline, which is my front waistline is shoulder to waistline is 17. For the back length, I have my shoulder to waistline is 15. And after measuring my shoulder divided by 2, I'll go down by 1 inch. And at that point, I'm going to go back and measure my neckline of 3 inches by 3 inches, and I'll be drawing it out. Now at the shoulder, I marked my shoulder divided by 2, which is 14 inches plus half, making it 7.5, and I marked out my neckline of 3 by 3 inches. So now the pattern is actually a turtle neckline. So if you're making a turtle neckline for this pattern, you're going to use 3 by 2 inches. Now go ahead and connect to your shoulder, and you're going to go ahead to find your chest line, which is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. So at this point, I'll make a mark at that point. Now I'll measure what I have here and I'll be replacing it here. This is just for me to have a straight line at this point, and I'm going to rule a straight line. So whatever I have on the shoulder, I'll still mark it on the chest line. And I'm going to go ahead and mark what I have at the shoulder, which is my shoulder divided by 2 plus half inch, because this pattern has a sleeve. Now I'll be dividing my chest line. How to get your chest line is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Dividing it into 2, I'm going to go in by half and I'll come out by half inch again. Now I'm going to place and mark my bust circumference divided by 4, and I will be placing my French curve. Connect from that point down to my shoulder line this way. After I'm done connecting, the next step you want to take is to go ahead and outline your pattern. So the next step you want to take is to go ahead to mark your nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 divided by 2. I have 3.5 inches, and I'll go ahead and mark it at the bust, under bust, waistline and top length, and I'm going to go ahead to draw a straight line. Now I'll divide what I have at the shoulder and I'll place my ruler, and I'm going to go ahead to connect it down to my chest line this way. So after I'm done connecting, the next step is to mark your dart intake. For my dart intake, I'm going to be marking 1 inch at both sides of my under bust and waistline. For a plus size person, go ahead to use 1.5 inches. And after that, I'm going to place and connect it down to my waist, from my waist down to the top length, which will also serve as my hip point. So now I'll place my French curve, connect from that point down to my under bust, and at the other part I'm going to repeat the same process also. So I'll go ahead and I will outline my pattern. So now I'm done outlining my pattern, and I'll be going up by 1 inch at my chest line, after my chest line. Now if you look at the thumbnail, you notice that what we have there is not too. So now if you notice, what we have is a bit closer to the chest line and is going towards the armhole area. Now I'll be marking 0.5. You can use 0.75, or you can go ahead and you can use 1 inch, but I'm using this because I have a yoke, so that I'm not going to do much contouring at the yoke, and my pattern will rhyme with what I have at the bodice. Now I'm going to go ahead to outline this, and after that I'll go ahead to draw out the neckline. I'll just measure 1 inch and I'll blend it into what I have, and then connect it down to the armhole area this way. So this is what I have on this point, and I'm going to go ahead to outline it to make it more visible. Now the next thing you want to take is to insert all your body measurements. So at this point, I'm going to mark my bust circumference divided by 4, and I'll measure the dart intake I have here, replace it, and mark my sewing allowance. Now I'm going to mark the under bust circumference divided by 4. I will measure the dart intake I have, and I'm going to replace. Go ahead and mark my sewing allowance. At the waistline, you want to snatch your waistline. The easiest way to do that is to remove what you want to snatch out immediately. So my waist is 28, minusing 3 inches from that, I have 25. 25 divided by 4, I'll go ahead and measure the dart intake and add my sewing allowance. At the hip, I'll mark the hip circumference, add ½ inch for sewing allowance, and I'll go ahead to add half in case I have any mistake while cutting out or joining. So now I'll connect back my pattern starting from the chest line to the bust to the under bust, and I'll place my French curve, connect from the waistline down to the hip point this way. So in case your body shape is not like this, it is also okay. Everybody's body differs and their shape differs. So I'll go ahead and I will outline the lower part, and after this what I'm going to do is to go ahead and create another style line. So now you don't have to go ahead to start inserting that. All you have to create is a style line to save you the stress of adding that to your pattern. So I'm going to mark 0.75 at this point, and I will extend it. This is to make sure that the waistline sits well and it is relaxed. So you can also replace what you took out at the waistline, or you can just go ahead to draft your pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and use my marker, and I'll outline my pattern. So this pattern is actually beginner friendly. You don't have to stress yourself about having too much multiple pattern. So I'm going to go up by 2 inches at this point, and I'm going to connect it down to the hip to get the shape we have at that point. So I'll go ahead and blend out this part and take it up a bit. So after this, I'm just going to clean it off later, and I'm going to outline the rest of the pattern this way. So if you have any question regarding this particular pattern or tutorial, please leave your question at the comment section. And at this point, if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please hit on the subscribe button. Don't forget to also give this video a thumbs up. So after that, I'll go ahead to label my pattern as 1, 2, and 3, and this will also follow for the other side of the pattern. So I'll go ahead to cut out this pattern, and I'll show you what the pattern looks like after I'm done cutting. So if you have any question, please also leave your question at the comment section. And don't also forget to label your pattern. After I'm done cutting out my pattern, this is what I have. As you can see, I have 6 pieces at the front part, and this is the final look of the front pattern. So now we'll be heading over to the back pattern. So now I've gone ahead to mark out all my back pattern just like we did for the front. The only difference is that my back neckline is 3 by 2 inches and the front is 3 by 3. So now I've also marked out my nipple to nipple divided by 2, which is 3.5 inches, and I'll go ahead to mark ½ inch at both sides. And after I'm done marking that, I'm going to go ahead to place my ruler, and I'm going to connect this way, and I'll also connect to the other parts of the lower part of my top. Now I'm going to outline the chest line area of this pattern. Now our yoke will also start at that point, so I'll go down by 1 inch, and I'll be making a mark of 0.25 at this point, or 0.3. So while you're doing this, if you notice, the yoke we have at this part is very covered compared to the regular yoke that we normally have. So I'm going to mark 0.2 or 0.3 at that point, and I'm going to connect it. This is just to make sure that our yoke does not have excess at the back. Now after that, I'll go up by 0.25 inches. This is to make sure that I take out the excess or the bulginess from the yoke also. So after I'm done doing this, the next step I'm going to take is to go ahead and I will insert my body circumference, which is my bust circumference divided by 4. So at the back, whatever waistline you used in front, that's what you use. Go ahead, measure the dart intake, replace and add your stitching or sewing allowance. At the top, length or hip point, you're going to mark your hip circumference divided by 4, add ½ inch, and also add ½ inch just in case you have a mistake while cutting out or stitching up your pattern. But while sewing the dress, if you have any excess, you can easily go ahead to trim off. Now place your French curve and you're going to connect. So this is the pattern for the back, and I'm just going to go ahead to outline it out, and after that I'm going to cut this out. And because this is a Victorian corset, we have multiple darts, you're also going to add that. But before we do that, we'll go ahead and create our lacing bar. So you can go ahead and use the 2 inches space for your lacing bar, or you can go ahead to also reduce by using 1.5 inches. So when I was marking out my lacing bar, the camera went off while I was recording. So for my lacing bar, I used 1.5 inches and I made a dot to indicate. So after I'm done doing that, next we're going to create another dart line for this pattern. So I'm going to place my ruler and rule a straight line. This is a Victorian corset and it has multiple style lines on it, or multiple dart intakes. So now after that, I'll go ahead to just go ahead and cut out my pattern. So with this, we have come to the end of today's tutorial. If you have any question, please leave your question at the comment section. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please hit on the subscribe button. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and see you in our next video. Thanks.